There are some places that become more than just buildings. They become part of our lives, our memories, and our story. For me, the Harrisburg State Hospital was one of those places. Growing up around this historic campus, I was always fascinated by its incredible architecture, its peaceful grounds, and the history hidden behind every window and hallway. Opened in 1851, the hospital cared for thousands of Pennsylvanians over more than 150 years before closing its doors in 2006. It was once known as the City on the Hill, a place filled with both hope and heartbreak. Beginning the hospital whenever I had the chance, every visit reminded me that time was slowly catching up with this incredible place. I knew these photographs weren't just pictures. They were preserving memories of a landmark that wouldn't be here forever. Throughout the years, I watched nature slowly reclaim parts of the property, while the building stood quietly holding on to generations of stories. Every brick, every staircase, and every empty room seemed to whisper pieces of Pennsylvania's history. Perched on a hill overlooking the city of Harrisburg, stands a place that witnessed more than 150 years of Pennsylvania history. Its story began in 1845, when Pennsylvania authorized the construction of its very first public hospital dedicated to caring for people with mental illness. Inspired by the tireless efforts of social reformer Dorothea Dix, the hospital was founded on the belief that those suffering from mental illness deserved compassion, treatment, and dignity, instead of being confined to jails or poorhouses. Started as a single building, eventually grew into a sprawling campus of more than 70 buildings across nearly 1,000 acres. At its peak, Harrisburg State Hospital became known as the City on the Hill. It had its own farm, power plant, workshops, laundry, and even its own community, making it one of the most self-sufficient psychiatric hospitals in Pennsylvania. Hospital experienced both remarkable progress and heartbreaking struggles. Medical treatments evolved over the decades, and while many patients found care and hope here, others endured overcrowding and difficult conditions, especially during periods when staffing was critically low. The history of Harrisburg State Hospital reflects the changing understanding of mental health in America. As new mental health programs became more common in the second half of the 20th century, the hospital's population steadily declined. After serving Pennsylvanians for more than 150 years, Harrisburg State Hospital officially closed its doors in 2006. Nature slowly reclaimed the grounds while photographers, historians, and former patients and employees remembered the lives connected to this extraordinary place. For me, is more than a piece of history. It's personal. I spent years attending school in the Hillcrest building as part of a troubled youth program, and returning decades later with my camera was unlike anything I could have imagined. This video isn't just about documenting abandoned buildings, it's about preserving a place that changed countless lives, including my own, before its story disappeared forever. I had the opportunity to take one of the final tours before demolition, it was an emotional experience. Walking through those halls one last time wasn't about exploring an abandoned building. It was about saying goodbye to a place that had been part of my life for so many years. The final public tours took place before much of the campus was cleared to make way for the site's redevelopment. As the day went on, the weight of what was happening became harder to ignore. It was my birthday, but this wasn't a day of gifts or celebration. It was a day of goodbyes. This was the final public tour of Harrisburg State Hospital. After decades of standing watch over the city, these buildings were preparing to tell their last stories before falling silent forever. I couldn't help but feel the emotion with every step we took. But I wasn't walking those halls alone. My son was there with me, running ahead with excitement, his curiosity leading him from room to room. He wanted to see everything. Every hallway was an adventure. Every doorway held another mystery. Watching him smile and explore filled my heart in a way I can't fully describe. In a place that had given me so many memories growing up, I was now creating one of the most meaningful memories of my life with him. Together, we walked through the administration building, stood inside the beautiful chapel, explored the underground tunnel system that connected the campus, visited the Eaton building, and toured several other buildings, including one that had been used as a filming location for a movie. As I looked around one last time, I wasn't just seeing abandoned buildings, I was seeing my childhood. I was seeing the school where I learned, the hallways I once walked, and a place that had become part of who I am. It hurt knowing this would be the last time. But somehow, having my son beside me made the goodbye a little easier. While one generation was saying farewell, another was discovering the place for the very first time. Not everyone understands why an old hospital can mean so much to someone, but places don't become special because of the bricks or the walls. They become special because of the lives lived inside them, the memories they hold, and the people they connect across generations. Long after these buildings are gone, that birthday, that final tour, and the memories my son and I made together will always remain.
I grew up with your towers in the quiet morning air. Your cottage walls and brickwork held 1,000 whispered prayers. The grounds were wide as childhood, where the wind would roam and play, and the city on the hill still shone in sepia and gray. Now the fences and the silence speak.
Some places are just buildings. Others become part of who you are. For me, the Hillcrest building at Harrisburg State Hospital was never just another abandoned structure. Long before I ever picked up a camera, I walked these halls as a student. For several years, I attended a troubled youth program on the 3rd floor. At a time when life was uncertain and I was trying to find my way, these walls witnessed a chapter of my life that very few people know about. Back then, I never imagined that one day I would return. Not as a student, but as someone determined to preserve history before it disappeared forever. As I walked through the empty hallways one final time, every step echoed with memories. The silence was overwhelming. The classrooms that were once filled with voices now sat empty. The windows I once looked through as a kid overlooked the same grounds, but everything had changed. It made me realize that buildings don't just hold history, they hold pieces of our lives. They carry our memories, our struggles, our victories, and our growth. The Hillcrest building wasn't just part of the Harrisburg State Hospital, it was part of my story. Watching it fall during demolition was difficult. It wasn't simply the loss of another historic building. It felt like saying goodbye to a chapter of my own life, a place that challenged me, helped shape me, and ultimately became part of the journey that led me to where I am today. That's why this video means so much to me. These photographs and videos aren't just documenting the end of Harrisburg State Hospital, they're preserving memories that can never be rebuilt once they're gone. The Hillcrest building may no longer stand, but the lessons, the memories, and the story it holds will always live on. Sometimes the places we leave behind never really leave us.
The city on the hill will stand. So we mourn the empty spaces where your shadows used to breathe and carry you like sacred light in all the lives you